Welcome to F&I Performance Podcast, powered by Sym-Tech Dealer Services, your source for everything F&I. Real talk, real experts, real results. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, F&I Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining us on another episode of the F&I Performance Podcast, sponsored by Sym-Tech Dealer Services. I like saying that. It's just kind of fun to say that. Hey guys, thanks for listening or watching. Today I have two very special guests. I have Ziad and Todd with me. Hey guys, thanks for taking the time to jam with me.
Oh, thanks for having us, Jason.
Hey guys, before we kind of get into the main topic of our conversation today, I thought it'd be fun to kind of kick it off with some origin stories. So Ziad, I'm going to start off with you. How did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
It was pretty accidental. So I graduated from Laurier with my BBA, and then I worked in accounting for about a year after that. A year into it, I realized I didn't really like, the desk job setup. And one of my friends worked in sales. It wasn't car sales, just sales in general. His job seemed appealing. So I'm like, you know what, I should get myself a sales job. And I accidentally ended up, getting a sales job at a car dealership. It wasn't by design or intent. And, but within a month, I loved it. I mean, as you probably know, if you sold cars, usually that first year is very exciting. You get that thrill and the rush. So it was a really, really cool gig for me. And I did that for about 6 years. I was at the dealership level, and now I've been 4 years with Sym-Tech in the F&I Performance field.
That's awesome. You know what? I find a lot of us in the industry never really have the intention of getting in the industry. A lot of us kind of just fall into it, right? A lot of accidents. That's how I feel. I feel like for us in the industry, a lot of accidents happen. That's how we all end up. Hey, Todd, for yourself, how did you get started in the industry?
Well, like Ziad, I wasn't planning on automotive, that's for sure. All through high school, I was set out to be a teacher. I was going to university to become a teacher, and the summer before I was supposed to start, I went and toured the university to look for residents, and it hit me. I don't want to do this. I don't want to spend 4 or 5 years in school just to spend another 30 years in a school. And went home, said to Mom and Dad, I'm not doing this. And Dad's like, what are you going to do? I said, I have no idea. And he had said to me, you always have liked cars. And my older brother owned a couple audio video stores, and I worked part-time selling for him in there. And had a knack for it, and my dad said, why don't you go sell cars? So I grew up in a little town north of Toronto, and there was no dealerships nearby. So I got out the Toronto Sun and picked out an ad for a GM dealer in Mississauga. I called them, they hired me on the spot, moved to Toronto, and 32 years later, here I am. Done a little bit of everything in the industry, sales manager, fixed ops manager, and I've been with Sym-Tech for 5 now.
That's awesome. I love 32 years later. It's just like all of a sudden, poof, what happened? I got into the car business.
I had hair when I started.
I was going to ask you. I actually did too. and then a family and the car business later. Guys, I'm actually 23 years old. I don't know if you knew that, but no, I'm just saying.
I can tell, Jason.
Yeah, thanks. It's all the gray and the losing hair that it is, right? Hey, you know what? With the pandemic going on right now and affecting our business and our industry the way it is, dealers right now are really having to look for new revenue streams. A lot of new revenue streams. Here's the bottom line: we're not going to sell as many cars as we did in the past, we just came off of a flat year as well, right? From an operations perspective, we're going to have to process our way to profitability. It's, the days of just having that volume and relying on those type of strategies are, let's face it, it's kind of gone, So we really have to look at every single department and every single strategy that we deploy and say, is this going to bring us the profitability that we're looking for? Is this going to give us that revenue? And, I think with the F&I department, that is a space that still has a lot of potential. And I know a lot of dealerships are already talking and discussing on how that department, is going to have to really pick up some of that lost revenue stream. So I'd love to kind of kick off our conversation with that is, what type of tactics, can be executed, to offer, F&I products to customers who maybe their manufacturer warranty is nearing expiry, because I think that's a huge opportunity. We got a little chance to talk off screen before we started here, but it was one of the first call I actually had to make for, when I started in the industry, was calling customers where their warranty was near expiry. But I'd love to kind of get your guys' thoughts on tactics and strategies that we can use towards that type of audience. And Ziad, I'll start with you, and then Todd, I'll ask you the same question.
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, that's 100% a really important revenue stream that I'd have to say for the most part, I don't think most dealers currently capitalize on it. It's something that kind of gets, falls through the cracks, right? Now, when it comes to a customer who's got a vehicle with an expiring warranty, I'd say the first priority really, as it should be for most dealers, is to get that customer in a new vehicle, right? I mean, if the warranty's going to expire, that's a huge opportunity. I mean, that's, kind of upgrade your customer 101. You would try to get them into a new vehicle, right? Well, there's the same model or a lesser model now to help them save on the payment a bit now, with the pandemic going on. But of course, a lot of customers aren't going to fall in that category. So at that point, you do need a strategy of like, well, they're keeping their vehicle for an extra 3 years. They're out of extended warranty. How do we do that? There's really multiple ways to do it. I mean, it kind of does get broken down into a 4-step process. One is the lead generation. That could get done through your CRM or DMS, depending on what system you're getting. So the lead generation is pretty well through your system is going to tell you who's, there's a couple of months left or they're at the kilometers. So you could sort that, with these parameters, or as you're booking service appointments, right? That's another lead generation tool. Jason, you're coming in the next week. What are your kilometers? 55,000. Well, boom, automatically that's an opportunity because you're only 5K away from expiry, right? The second is the initial contact, which is typically done through the BDC. As much as we want business managers to do that, the reality is very far and few between business managers are going to be calling these lists. And typically, like based on my experience, dealerships that do this more successfully have a business development center. There's like a well-oiled machine that takes care of that. And then connecting with the customers. So when they're in for a service is a great opportunity, or sometimes you just call them or you send an email because their warranty's up to expiry, they're interested, they'll come in, or you can do the meeting virtually. And then closing the sale really is up to the business manager, right? And there's really 3 different ways we could do it. We could do it by phone. We could do it also by email. So depending on how you want to target your customer. I think depending on where your dealership is, some might be more into email, some are more into the phone. So you'll have to figure that out. And of course, sometimes they also offer like a promotion, like your award is up to expiry. Here's a $400 credit on your next one, right?
No, look, at the end of the day, we have to really, as an industry, stop talking about what we accomplished the previous month. We spent a lot of time talking about, here's what we did. I think moving into, this next 8 to 12 months, we need to talk about not what we did, but what could we have done. And there's all these little spaces, you mentioned the service department, right? You mentioned like prospecting. We Todd, you've been in the business long enough. I mean, I remember when I first showed up to the dealership, and my first 2 weeks was like, there's a desk, all right? There's the cars you can sell. Here's a phone book. And that is literally how you got started. Like the art of prospecting, I hate to say it, but it's kind of been lost in our industry. In fact, I got a word for it. I call it full belly syndrome. And I feel like we're coming off of, a lot of full belly syndrome at dealerships, and that's not going to work moving into the next 12 months. Like we have to get hungry again, and to do that, Ziad, you nailed it on the head. It's like we have to identify these audiences. Like, who are we going to prospect? And then once we've identified those audiences, then we have to decide, well, what can I say to that audience that's actually relevant to them? What are they going to care about right now? And it's going to go beyond just discounts and low interest rates. And, we have to come at it from a direction of empathy before, we have to show them that we care before we can show them here's what we have to offer. And that's kind of a fundamental shift for as an industry.
Absolutely.
But, Todd, I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on this, manufacturer warranties nearing expiry. What are some great tactics and strategies that dealers can use to target that audience and start prospecting again?
Yeah, well, an interesting stat, Jason. 18% of customers return to the selling dealer once the manufacturer's warranty expires. So you got 82% of your customer base not coming back to you. And I look at it this way. You think about the money dealers spend on advertising that to bring new clients into their building. Why not use the tools you've got? You've got your CRM, you've got your database there. Let's start marketing to those people. Not everybody wants to be pulled out of the vehicle they're in. All manufacturers have done a great job in the last 5-10 years pulling people out. What are we going to do to keep them in? So if you can contact those people, like Ziad said, with an email or a phone call, and if they're planning on keeping the vehicle, let's offer them some protection on it. They're already your customer. They're already coming to your service department. So let's keep them there. Whether it's a discount on the warranty or just a lot of times letting them know, hey, you chose not to buy this when you bought the vehicle. Maybe it's because you weren't sure if you're going to keep it past the 3 or 4 years. But now that you've decided to, let's protect it for the next 3 years. Would you like to have new car warranty again on your own vehicle? Yes, I would love to have that. Is what you hope they say. But you got to give them a reason to. And if you can keep those, if you kept a percentage of that other 82% coming back to your building, how much is your business going to grow? And it's cost you nothing. It's absolutely cost you nothing. But the biggest thing dealers have to do is have a proper process to manage this. It's got to be almost like its own dedicated department. You've got your new, your used, your warranty parts. Somebody's got to manage this department and follow through that the people contacting the people are doing it properly. It's got to be manageable, and it's got to be monitored. To tell somebody, go make 30 phone calls today, and you're not monitoring what they're doing, it doesn't work.
No.
And just to add to that, like another reason why it's important, other than just serving the customer and an additional revenue generation for the dealer, typically, and I believe the number is 1 out of 5, so about roughly 20% of customers, when their warranty expires, they go back to the dealership for service. Now, potentially, you're losing a significant amount of service customers, let alone the profitability you can make on a warranty and really doing the customer a service by giving them their options. You really it's detrimental to your service department not doing that process, because the second they don't have the warranty, there's a high likelihood 80% will go to Costco or elsewhere, wherever they go to their own mechanic to get the vehicle serviced, right? So it's lots of benefits with that, right?
Oh, no, for sure, guys. I mean, look, coming from the marketing perspective, there is not an ad set that I can create. There's not a message I can put out there, that's going to draw people into a dealership right now. I mean, look, there's no magic pill. There is no 12-minute apps here. Like Todd, you were kind of talking about it, right? Like, this is just hardcore process development. And I kind of said it earlier, we're going to process our way to profitability, and we have to get rid of this full belly syndrome and really take the time to dive into our current database and what we are actually doing with it. And I have some dealers that, oh no, I manage to I market to my current database. I'm like, you do a quarterly, private sale? That's not marketing to your database. I mean, I think what we're talking about here, guys, is actually hand-to-hand combat, picking up that phone, having bloody conversations, about how are things going for you right now? What is your financial situation changed? As your dealership, what can I do to assist you, my customer? Like, that's the type of process that we're talking about here. And it's like, I know I'm getting a little passionate, but it's like, this is the time that we're in. And I think we're beyond the point that what we're talking about is a good idea. We're at the point now where it's a mandate. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Which is a good thing. I mean, when a recession, pandemic, or any of that stuff happen, it pushes you to step up your game and hopefully now that's going to be an opportunity to get a lot of dealers to, commit to processes, commit to finding ways to generate that extra revenue that before they were, a bit too comfortable, the full belly syndrome, right? So I think, there could be a really positive, side to this from an operations aspect at the dealership level. So, yeah.
And you know what, I will say, I will have to applaud our industry, because for the most part, all right, we have had to make huge changes. We're talking monstrous changes to our processes, the way we utilize technology, and we've had to do it in 60 days. I mean, these are changes that we've been trying to get dealers to make for the last 10 years, and dealerships are making these changes in 60 days. And, I guess that's kind of the silver lining that you kind of see right now, during this pandemic, are those dealerships that are stepping up and really identifying the fact that they're going to have to process this way. Now, the cool thing is the benefit when they take that approach. All right, the customer is the one that actually reaps the benefit of it. I mean, look, what we're talking about here, calling the customer, having this conversation about their warranty about to expire is, I would say, more of a customer service call than it is a sales call. And, I really want to make sure we drive that home, because it is, you're doing right by the customer to have this conversation. If you're not having this conversation, I don't know if you're doing right by the customer. It's, again, like I said, it's a mandate, and that's just one audience, right? I mean, this is a perfect lead into my next question for you guys, is that there's a whole other audience there, many audiences, but here's a whole other one that I think we need to identify and talk about, tactics is, the lease are expiring soon. I mean, I've heard some stats and some numbers are thrown around, but there's a crap load of cars right now that their leases are about to expire. And, what can dealers do to help customers that, are having, a lease about to expire? Ziad, I'll start with you, and then Todd, I'll ask you the same question.
Sure.
Yeah, I think, on my end, and I know, leases are expiring and we're in the middle of a pandemic, but I'm a firm believer in process. So yes, there's a pandemic, things are different, but the process should never change. Yes, we could tweak it, that falls under adaptability. And as you said, dealers have done a good job in the last 60 days trying to, switch some aspects of their business to adapt to the current situation, right? But it shouldn't really change. A lease is expiring. Most dealerships, I would hope, do have a, lease renewal process that starts typically at the 12-month window, 6-month window, and the 3-month window, right? Where we do that initial contact, 12, 6, and 3 months if we, didn't upgrade them the first 2 times, right? I think another part of it too as well, part of your prospecting when you call these customers, you do want it to be a bit data-driven. So using a software like vAuto that tells you where, this particular vehicle is going to have a high trade-in value, and now we've got a good incentive. Well, maybe now is a good time to call that customer, right? And other softwares, of course, like, the auto alerts of the world, where instead of you having to call 50 customers, it'll tell you, well, these 20 customers, they might be in a similar, actually lesser payment. How great is it to be, calling you, Jason, and telling you, well, same car is going to be a less payment, give or take, your accident history potentially, right? So things like that, I think, one, you got to follow your regular process, and hopefully you should have a good lease renewal process, right? Now, if the timing isn't right, of course, now for a lot of people, no matter what, the timing may be different, and you have to respect that, whether it's a health situation or financial situation. At that point, of course, you do have the option with most OEMs to extend that lease, right? So if their lease expires on, June 1st, and, it's just not the right timing for that particular individual, well, why don't we look into the lease extension? Most, again, OEMs, you have a few.
That's perfect. I mean, look, I think with the lease expiry, look, our process in the past when it comes to a lease return, or has been our process. You know what I mean? Like, it's benefited us as a dealership. And, I'm thinking, Ziad, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, is like, how do we make our lease expiry process more customer centric, knowing, how much this pandemic has changed, our social interactions? What are your thoughts?
Well, the first thing I would say, when you get in touch with that customer, you kind of have to maybe put them through like a qualifier. The same thing if it's a fresh up at a dealership. Well, what are you looking for? Budget, needs. So, say for example, you're driving a Honda CRV, right? Typically, a leasing manager, salesperson might assume, well, let's just put you in the new CRV, same car, try to get a lower payment. But I think now you're right, given the situation, it wouldn't hurt to do like kind of an interview. It needs analysis where, what's your situation? Are you still happy with the car? You're looking for a small or bigger? Well, actually, you know what? I'm actually really willing to downsize now. What can I do? Well, now automatically we know that, well, maybe like a Civic will work instead of a CRV, right? So I think one, like a little bit of a needs analysis to understand the customer's current situation. And maybe the situation might come up where it's like, you know what, now is just like I can't make a decision because there's a lot of unknowns. Well, how about we extend your lease? Would that make you feel better, right? If we can get you an extra 6 months on your lease, well, that would be great. It buys me time, right?
That sounds like it'd be a great video discussion.
So I think something like that is very mindful given the situation we're in. And I think that should really be the first questions or set of questions we ask when we're calling customers who have expiring leases. One, find out what the situation is. Is the car still meeting their needs financially? Did it want to be, some might, be comfortable going even higher. You never know. Everybody's different, right? But I think once you do that, you'll figure out if the timing now is right based on the vehicle they have and their situation, or if you want to extend that lease. And some, of course, might fall under the category of, I love my car, I'm fine, I want to keep it, right? At that point, the refinance or just like a cash lease valid process, the way we look at it is that, that's a regular new car or a used car purchase process. So these customers should be going through a turnover and all their protection options should be offered to them, right? There's no reason why we should just print a bill of sale and collect a check. Like it's kind of a new deal. They're now rebuying that car for another 4 years. It's kind of like, they're buying a 4-year-old car, like a brand new used car deal, right? So again, back to process, it should be going through 100% identical turnover as a new car deal, right? I think, on my end, I think that kind of covers of how we should be approaching the lease expiry now during the pandemic. And
look, we have the time to do this kind of stuff. Guys, look, you work with a lot of F&I managers, you work with a lot of sales managers and salespeople. How often do you hear those words? Oh, that's a great idea, but, if I had the time, right? Like, I think that excuse doesn't exist anymore. Like, you don't have a lineup of people out your door. We have time. In fact, actually, I know a Honda dealership that during this pandemic did not lay off any of their staff, which I thought was kind of big and bold, but in fact, turned every single one of them into a kind of a quasi BDC person. And his goal and objective was to actually have a conversation on the phone or video, all right, with all 8,000 of his active VINs. I'm like, wow, man, that's bold. He's like, look, even if the conversation is just to check in and see how you're doing, right? But like, we wanted to get face to face with 8,000 people. I wanted to do this. Now, I'll tell you what, this guy set his dealership up for success. And over the next 6 to 12 months, he is going to significantly benefit from taking that time and having, and he said he was, last time I talked to him, he was damn near almost at 3,000 conversations. Can you imagine 3,000 conversations over 2 months? Like that's amazing. But when that's what we're talking about here, take that time, have those conversations. Hey, Todd, for yourself, what would you like to kind of add to that, to customers who leases are about to expire, tactics or strategies that dealerships should be executing right now?
Well, I think the big thing, and it's like we've talked about all through the conversation, it's communication. If you're the salesperson that's leased that car originally, or you're the leasing manager, don't wait until the lease is about to expire to be communicating with those people. Stay in contact with them. Build that rapport, build that relationship. Because if they do come back to you, you're not talking about one vehicle sale. You're talking about 2. You're going to lease them a new vehicle or sell them a new vehicle. Plus, you're going to have an A1 vehicle for your used car lot. What better way to stock your used cars than with one owner leases coming off that you've serviced, the customer's driving habits? To me, that's huge. If I'm a used car manager, I'm all over my leasing managers behind every day. What do you got coming in tomorrow? What's coming off next week, next month?
We used to call it go
I don't want to
fishing.
be going to the auction. Yeah.
Go fishing, right? Like, what do you do? What are you doing today? Me and the used car manager, we're going to go fishing. We're going to go through that lease portfolio, and we're going to start, cherry picking, the cars that we want.
Yeah. If you know that, hey, 2017 Honda Civics are really hot right now. I'm all over that lease portfolio. I need 30 of them for June 1st. Who can we call? Who's called? Who's talked to? And just, you got to work. One thing I'm hoping that comes through all this pandemic is dealerships start working together within the store. It's not 5 separate departments. It's everybody working together to be better for our customers, to be better for our staff, and grow it back to where it should be.
No, that's totally true. And we do. It's communications, not just between us and the customer, but also communications between our departments. Guys, like I hate to say it, but I've been in a lot of strategy sessions with dealerships, and I've sat in these boardrooms, and it's like the used car manager's on one side, and he wants to strangle the service manager because he says he gouges them on reconditioning, right? The parts manager hates the new car manager because the new car manager expects a discount on all the accessories when he goes to the parts department. And it's just like, and if I wasn't there, all 4 of them would probably just be in a full out like brawl with each other. Like, but that's it. Just, we can't operate like this. We can't operate in these types of silos anymore. It's not good for us as a business, but it's definitely not good for the customer. The customer, feels that. And Todd, one thing I want to kind of add a little bit to going fishing in your leasing portfolio. I've been reading a lot of reports out there lately how people are saying that car sales are going to be down hardcore over the next 12 months and, 50, 60, 70% down. And I gotta be honest with you, I for the most part disagree with a lot of what they're saying. I mean, I'm looking at, especially like here in Ontario where we are right now, the 1.5 million people that rely on public transit to get around. Look, I'm not jumping into a bus or getting on a train anytime soon. In Canada, where we live, we have the highest usage of rideshare programs than anywhere else in the country. Are you guys jumping in the back of a stranger's car anytime soon? No, I mean, look, there's a lot of people out there that are going to be looking for that $300, $350 a month car. And, I know a lot of people who would not want to take those Civics off a lease because they're like, oh, Jay, like there's so many of them. I'm like, enough. I don't want them, right? Let's just let them send them to the auction. But I have dealerships right now that are digging through their lease portfolios and trying to pull these people out because they're preparing. They're preparing for what is to come. And that is for, the bucket of people that were in market before the pandemic happened. Look, just because the pandemic happened doesn't mean they're not going to buy a car. They're just not buying a car right now. And then this whole new bucket of people that are going to be entering into the market because they're not going to want to jump on the GO train and commute into work. They would rather spend the $350 a month and get that, less expensive, used sedan that just came off a lease. So look, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Now we talked a little bit about lease. I want to talk a little bit about finance because I find with leases, guys, it's a bit easier, like they have to bring it back. We have to have a conversation. I actually feel like we don't do enough actually to talk to the finance contracts. We almost just kind of, it's like, well, no, look, this lease portfolio, they have to do something. I'm going to focus on this as low-hanging fruit. But I feel like what we say and what we communicate, to the customers where their finance contracts are about to expire should be slightly different. So I'm actually curious your guys' thoughts on any tactics and strategies that we can use towards finance customers where their contract's about to expire. So I'll start with you, and then Todd, I'll ask you the same question.
Yeah, with finance, and again, we're talking about that before the call, Jason, is that it's really the same as the lease. It shouldn't be treated any different now. In most places, it does get treated like, of course, we used to do finance renewals and go after finance, but most of the renewals and upgrade and sales events, like the majority were focused on lease. And you walk into any dealership, lease renewal. I mean, I'm like, why the heck don't we hear about finance renewal, right? The reality is the closing rate is tougher. Typically, when a customer is in a finance vehicle, the reason why they finance it sometimes, right, is that they want to keep that car long term. So it's tougher. And of course, the path of least resistance, the lease customer, they're forced to talk to us. They have to deal with us. So we usually go after those and we kind of ignore the finance customer. But again, same as what we discussed before, I think with finance customers, it's even more important to use data-driven systems like vAuto and Auto Alert, because with a finance customer, it might not even be near expiry. It might be at a 2-year window. If I'm doing a 6-year finance, maybe with 2 or 2.5 years left in my finance, now is a good time. Depending on the brand you have, you might have a trade value that is higher than your balance, and you've got a positive equity situation. I remember when I was a sales guy and we'd have our events, the easiest upgrade customers were finance customers if it was the right car. If it was a car that our used car department wanted, and and then the customers got their eye on another car, they were an easy switch because you've got somebody who's got 2 years left, and now they've got a positive equity situation, which is typically tougher to experience in a lease, right? But again, for the most part, we kind of ignore these, right? So I personally think with finance, as far as strategy and tactics, you really have to be in tune with, what's hot in the used car department, right? And then pull your, CRM, DMS, auto alert type system and see based on, let's say 2017 F-150 pickup trucks are hot, see who's got these cars, and then again, which ones are going to show up in the green, meaning that their payment is going to be either a bit less or similar, or maybe a tiny bit higher for a new model, right? And then you can focus on these customers versus one that might be a little bit too much in the red, right? I think that's a strategy that could really start anywhere from 2.5 years prior to expiry. You don't have to wait until it's expiring, right? So at that point, you're not, jammed against the wall with a couple of weeks left, competing with different brands. So planning ahead and having a process is key. Another thing I personally found with finance customers when it comes to renewal, we always assume that a cash buyer, a finance buyer, they're a cash buyer, they're a finance buyer. We never assume that, potentially they might be a lease buyer. I personally found that most of the time, at least for half of them, they just didn't really understand how a lease works. A lot of people have a negative perception of lease. Oh, like lease is a ripoff, scam, whatever. It's like crazy stuff you hear from people about leases, right? Meanwhile, it really is, for 9 out of 10 customers, the best way to get a car usually is a lease, right? Because most people nowadays are switching every 4 to 5 years for the most part, right? So I personally find another strategy is also like...
And I think right now, like, you're going to see more of it, right? People that are in finances...
Reduced payment.
Yeah, well, exactly.
They're looking for a reduced payment now. I'm in a finance, I'm paying $750 a month. I could really switch into a lease and be paying under $500 a month for a similar vehicle. And maybe the reason I never started a lease because I was never educated. I came in, I told the sales guy I want to finance, and my buddy told me a lease is a scam, right? And the sales guy was, maybe didn't with the path of least resistance, let's roll with the finance and that's it. But I think it's important to always, when you're prospecting your cash and finance customers for renewal, start from square one. When I was a sales guy, I always offered the 3 options. Don't prejudge. If they're on a lease, show them what a finance's cash looks like, right? And same now, I think re-educating the customer on the benefits of the lease will really make it easier, because otherwise if they're looking at another finance and they have to put another big down payment and another massive monthly payment, like, you know what, no thanks, I'll keep my car. But if you educate them on the benefits of a lease, specifically how they're protected against the depreciation from accident history, which only a lease offers them that benefit, finance and cash doesn't, right? If an accident happens, it comes out of their pocket. When they trade in with a lease, you're protected, right? So I think once they understand that, it'll really make it easier to increase that renewal rate for the finance deals, right?
And you know what, Ziad, I think we're going to see a lot of that. I remember, you guys probably both remember seeing a lot more of this when we came out of the recession, right? There were certain manufacturers that had very, very small lease portfolios and huge finance portfolios. And right out of the recession, because everyone was so budget conscious, like, there was a big shift or leaning over towards lease. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. And I think it's a great point that we need to be training and talking to our staff about this now. We got to have these conversations. We just can't expect as business as usual. And they come in, they finance their last car, and they're going to want to finance their this next car as well. It's like, getting them into a short-term lease, where they don't maybe need the big SUV. We get them into a smaller SUV, and we get them to a 36 or 24-month lease. Then when things feel like they're going to be a little bit more back to normal, they can go back to the larger vehicle. But if we set that up now, if we just stick them to another finance, we're never going to have that chance. We're never going to have that chance to have that conversation. Todd, I'd like to kind of get your thoughts on kind of, tactics and strategies behind, finance contracts or finance customers where the contract's about to expire.
Yeah, I think Ziad summed it up pretty good. The one big thing I think dealers and salespeople have to keep in mind is the finance customer is different than the lease customer in one way, that they don't have to get out of the vehicle they're in. So we have to become salespeople again. A lot of times we just rely on the people who have gone on the internet. They've seen what they want. They come in. Yeah, I want the blue Escort that you've got out there. But so know the vehicle they've got. Know the similar model that's out now. Be product knowledge experts. If you're in this business and you don't know every button feature on that vehicle that you can sell it, you're not going to pull that person out of that finance contract. That's the big thing to me is I see, after all these years of this business, the ones that are successful, they know their product inside and out, and they can sell the benefits to that customer. Hey, I'm going to get you out of the finance contract you're in now. Look at what you're going to gain by. You're going to have a vehicle with a brand new warranty. You're going to have this safety feature, this add-on benefit that you said would be important to you. So sell them on what they're going to gain. Forget about price. If they like what it is, they're going to buy it.
No, it's totally true. We do actually have to get back to selling. I mean, how often do you guys hear the term order takers in dealerships? And I'm thinking that just doesn't exist anymore. In fact, this is a perfect segue kind of into my next question for you guys. It's kind of just summing everything up. What are some additional best practices and tips, for dealers to manage their expiring customers? I mean, Ziad, we were talking a little bit earlier about events. Are we actually going to see upgrade events or loyalty events? Or are we going to start seeing lower your payment events? The things like this, where it's like, what else can we do? And I think, Todd, you were kind of alluding to one thing that, we need as an industry to have a conversation about is our people. Yeah. Is our people prepared, to actually be salespeople again? Are they prepared, to be the consultant and to do like we were talking about earlier, Ziad, and actually have that conversation about, moving them from a finance to a lease? Because look, that type of conversation, that takes a sales professional to have that type of conversation. That is not just, something that everybody can do. But I'd love to kind of get your guys' thoughts on, any additional best practices or tips that we can leave, our watchers and listeners right now with, when it comes to managing, customers where, they're expiring either finance or lease. Ziad?
I mean, I think we've touched on that. The one thing I would recommend, I mean, I know, even some dealers have every 2 weeks, they've got a sales event and all that stuff. I would say that the main thing, I mean, you want these events to be successful. I mean, that's the whole point you're doing it. I think you want it to be targeted, and again, back to being data-driven. Based on, my experience, the events where we're selling the 30, 40 cars a day, we're really crushing it, right? They didn't happen by accident. I mean, yes, of course, if you have good salespeople, it helps. But on the macro level, you need to target the right customer, right? So again, if a particular vehicle is just now got a terrible trade value, maybe we're not going to call 100 of those customers because it may not make sense at the time being, right? Maybe and it doesn't, bad trade value, no OEM incentives, probably not the best combination, right? But if you've got strong OEM incentives and it's really your used car manager that, knows that the V-Auto report tells them, well, that's the car you need on your lot right now. Well, let's put our efforts into that, right? So I think, you could have these events kind of as often as you want, in my opinion, as long as the data backs it up. Because we've also had on the flip side, you have these sales events where you're sold a handful of cars in a day, and it's not a good number usually, right? Given the investment and energy and time spent to set that event up. So I think, dealers have their CRMs, they've got their DMS, they should be able to get that information. where they've got targeting the right customer. And at that point, as same with the expiring warranty, you can contact by phone. It could be an email. It could be like a targeted social media campaign in your area, in your neighborhood, based on like, hey, anybody with a vehicle X, come on in, kind of stuff, right? So I think it's got to be targeted. And the good thing with technology now is that we do have the data. We just have to use it and come up with a strategy that makes sense. And I think we could be a lot more effective in these events, right?
You know what, Ziad, I'm so glad that you brought up CRM. God, we love our 3-letter acronyms in our industry, don't we? 3-letter acronyms and 4-letter words. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about a CRM, because, man, there's some wildly different variations of dealers' expectations, usage, training, coaching. I mean, hell, I just got done doing a consultation with the dealership where we actually found out they were paying for, get this, guys, 3 different CRM systems, and he had no bloody clue. He was paying for all 3 of them, which that's, it's not crazy uncommon, but it does happen, which just kind of begs the question, like, are we really using these systems? I mean, I remember when I started in the industry, it was on a Rolodex, but still, I lived and died by that paper. And, I think maybe because of the full belly syndrome that we're talking about earlier, is as an industry over the last 5 years, we've kind of fallen off the bandwagon of, living and dying, with our CRM tool. And a tool is only as good as how well someone uses it, but I'd love to kind of get your guys' thoughts on that. And Todd, I'll start with you, and then Ziad, I'll bounce back to you, is, that CRM. Yeah, use it, don't use it, drop it. What do you think?
You have to have it in the store. If you don't, you're not going to have any contact with your customers. But the biggest mistake I think that we make in our industry is we bring in this wonderful tool and we don't know how to use it. So have somebody on staff that, maybe spends a week with that manufacturer, that developer, and learns the ins and outs of it. So that when the lease manager or the service manager says, hey, Jason, I want to run a campaign on this, they know exactly where to go, what data to pull, and how to do it. I've been fortunate enough to work with 2 or 3 different DMS and CRM companies, and a lot of times they can give you everything you want, but nobody in the store knows how to get it. So you call through the Reynolds of the world or ADP, and, oh yeah, we can do that. Well, how? Well, we'll send somebody in and show you. Okay, perfect. So let's have somebody on staff that knows how to work that program so that when you want it, you can get it like that. You're not waiting for a call back from another company that walks you through, and then you don't really know what you're doing with it. And by the time you've got the information you wanted, it's too late. You've missed the boat on what you were trying to accomplish. So it comes back to what we just talked about earlier. Let's invest in our people. Let's train our people better to use the tools that we have for them.
These CRM systems they're amazing tools. And they're not cheap. Like, I've seen some bills. I'm sure you guys have. I mean, this is not a minor investment, for dealerships, but I just, we don't seem to make that commitment. And I think, during this time, again, if there's a silver lining at all, it's, as a dealership, as a salesperson, as a sales manager, as a general manager, recommitting, to utilizing our CRM is going to set us up for success for the next 12 months. And I feel like the ones that, won't be as successful, they're not setting that up. They're just kind of waiting for, business to be normal again. And that's just not the case. We're alluding, we've talked about this a couple times now, but, moving forward over the next, 12 plus months, we have to grind harder than we grind before. We just got to push a little harder, dig a little deeper, and our CRM gives us that ability to dig a little deeper, but a tool is only as good as how well we use it and how well we commit to understanding and using it on a regular basis. Ziad, what are your thoughts on CRM's usage in a dealership?
Yeah, absolutely agree with what you and Todd said there. it's available. It's got to be used. I mean, I know some dealers who had like tools like the auto alerts of the world, and then they got rid of them. I think, as much as we want the salespeople to use it, and again, maybe now that things are slower, that they might have that opportunity. The ones I've seen be most successful, you need to have a dedicated team. That's the same way like a lease retention department might be comprised of 1, 2, or 3 people, depending on how big the dealership is. And managing the CRM, and that's for your lease, finance, cash, expiring warranties. It's really for every aspect of almost your business, right? I think a dedicated team, something under the BDC, where their sole focus is on looking at these opportunities in the CRM. It's got to be used because they're leaving money on the table, right? And really, you're not going to know, that Jason now can be upgraded into a new car if you're not checking your CRM that tells you, hey, he can save $20 a month, and then you find out 4 months later when he's renewed with a different dealership, and you're like, are you kidding me? Well, has it been a daily process? That's why I think, as much as we want the salespeople, I think having a dedicated team, part of your BDC or a lease retention department, and that's part of their job, where every day they're checking the CRM for these things, right? For a few hours a day, at least you're not letting anybody fall through the cracks, right?
Well, it's, again, we kind of said it a little earlier, it's no longer a good idea. It needs to be a mandate in the dealership. I mean, guys, can you imagine, I'll ask you this. Do you guys both watch sports? I'm curious, which sports do you guys follow?
I'm a big hockey guy.
You big hockey?
Football, football, basketball.
Yeah. Can you imagine watching these sports if they never actually measured or monitored any stats? Like, how boring would that be? Yeah. We as an industry, do we really know who is the best of the best? You would never, there's not a single professional sports team out there that in their wildest dreams would ever consider not tracking their actual efforts and deep diving into their data. But we run multi-million-dollar businesses, and we kind of wing it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you took that on I was going to say it, and I don't want to say all of it, but for a significant part of it, it's kind of winged, right? Yeah. And it's crazy. But I think, what the good news, Jason, is that I truly believe that's all changing. And it's going to change sooner or later. Some might change today, some might be in a year, some might be in 10 years. But I don't think you're going to have the option, for the most part, down the road, to not be data driven, to not operate in a smart way and not just wing it, right?
No, 100%. We can't afford not to be data driven. I did want to go back just a little bit, because when we were talking about communication, and something that I've actually been asked just recently, actually this morning before I actually got on this chat, and since I have you guys both here, I figured I might as well take the time to ask you both. But I was talking to a leasing renewal manager, and he was telling me in a lot of his discussions on how many customers just don't want to do a renew. They just, I don't know if it's fear. I think some of it is. I think some of it's fear, some of it's concern, but it's just like they almost just doesn't want to renew their lease. It's like, what other options, do they have? A lot of them are considering just buying it out or switching it over to a finance. And I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are for, leasing managers out there that are struggling right now, getting people to actually renew their lease. Ziad, I'll ask you, and then Todd, I'll ask you the same question.
I think that kind of would fall under, if I were a leasing manager and today, I've done the right process and I've done everything I was supposed to do, and the customer is hesitant. I think for the time being, a lease extension would make sense, right? So for whatever reason you're hesitant, you're set on renewing, refinancing or buying out your lease. Well, again, if you want to do that, you're adamant, of course, we help customers through that process. But if the customer felt like that was their only option, because most customers don't realize that lease extension is an option for them, right? Then be like, you know what? Well, now's a bad time. Why force yourself into refinancing? Let's extend it for 3 months or 6 months, and then if in a month from now you want to buy it out, you could still do that. But why rush? Maybe in 2-3 months your situation will change. And really, in the next 6 months, I think all of our situations got to change to a certain extent. It could be better, the same, or worse. But yeah, why not? I mean, it does make a lot of sense, I think, to offer the lease extension option. At that point, at least you still have that customer, right? And it buys you some time. And it is really beneficial to the customer, right? I mean, customers would love nothing more than a bit more time to make a decision.
I think that's a real professional way to kind of address situations like that. Todd, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I think the big thing is when customer says they don't want to renew a lease, let's dig in and find out why. Was it product? Were they unhappy with the vehicle they had and they don't want to go to another one? Was it the price? Have their finances changed like all of ours have in this? And dig in a little deeper, spend the time with them, find out what the real cause is, because most of the time it's either product or price that they don't want to do anything new. So if you can find out why, then you can start giving them some options, whether it's to extend the lease or to downsize or switch to a used vehicle and go pre-owned, because their needs have changed. But if you just, let us know if we can do anything, well, they're going somewhere else. So dig in, spend the time with them. We've got time on our hands right now. Let's spend it with our customers.
Definitely, yeah.
Guys, I think, the overall theme of almost the entire podcast is just kind of like be the professional. Just the F&I manager, be the professional. The leasing manager, be the professional. The sales manager, be the professional. It's like, I think just everyone's just got to dig a little deeper and find that professionalism in them. We're not going to just be able to kind of skate by, by the skin of our teeth. We're going to have to stop being jack of all trades and master what's in front of us, right? Hey guys, I know that's the tail end of our time today, but before I let you go, I get to ask my favorite question. And of course, I prepped you before we started. So Ziad, I'm going to start with you, right? If you were to change one thing in our industry, what would that be and why?
I would say the process, right? I mean, it's the great thing about like our field and where Todd and I work, we get to go to lots of dealerships. Typically every day we're at a new dealership, right? So it's pretty cool. And of course, many dealerships are very process driven. Nobody's perfect, and there's always more opportunity to bring process to any aspect of your business, whether it's expiring warranties, doing a proper trade appraisal. I mean, that's a huge opportunity that helps F&I as an example, right? I think, at the same time, there's also a lack of process in a lot of other aspects. So I'd say one thing, a bit more commitment to process, right? And the other part would be really when it comes to sales, and I think we touched up on that, like how to benefit the customer. I think really educating the customer. Like I found I had my best interactions or my best compliments from a customer when I used to sell cars. Because when I did it, I'm like, I wasn't even trying to sell that customer. I was genuinely trying to help them and explain to them how, option A, B, C compare. And it was like a genuine, like a full-blown explanation, like you're talking to a friend. And these are the ones that really appreciate what you did for them versus the ones where you're trying to sell them, right? So I think process is number one. And then number two would be really go back to educating, needs analysis, proper customer service with the customers. I think you do those two things, and then you overcome anything this pandemic throws at us.
That's perfect. I mean, really putting the customer at the center of our process we will win, and the customer will feel like they won as well because they received that experience. Yeah. Hey, Todd, for yourself, if you were to change one thing in our industry, what would that be and why?
Well, the one thing that's driven me nuts in this business for a long time is manufacturer incentives. Yeah. I was a GM of a Saturn store for a few years where it was one price, and I miss those days. I hate seeing, 20-25% off retail price and this cash incentive and this. Price the vehicles that consumers are getting what they're paying for. I would love it. And I think we'd all be better off for it.
You know what? I know of a few dealer groups that have done that over the years, and they're showing huge success. I mean, Saturn was great at that. I mean, I bought a Saturn, and my experience was great because of that. I didn't feel like I had to shop 15 places because it was the same price at each Saturn location I talked to. That's awesome. Hey guys, for everyone out there that's watching and listening right now and love to connect with you two fine gentlemen, what is the best way to do so? Ziad, I'll start with you.
LinkedIn would be best. So Ziad Ferzli, Ferzli, on LinkedIn. It'll be easy to find me.
And Todd, for yourself, what is the best way to connect with you, sir?
Yeah, LinkedIn as well. I'm on there, todd.growden, or email todd.growden@symtech.ca.
Awesome. Hey guys, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today. This has been a lot of fun. You guys have a good one.
Thanks, Jason. Have a good one.
Thanks, Jason.